doesn't have reindeer or elves. He's in Bloomfield Hills and Plymouth at St. John's. He drives an electric golf cart, and he's got a bunch of nice, normal-sized people ready to help you do your holiday shopping at his 2 stores called Carl's Golfland. Both stores are filled with the best clubs, bags, balls, shoes, apparel, and accessories from all the finest brand names. You don't need to write him a letter or leave him cookies, but it does help if you've been nice, not naughty. That's just good karma. Do your holiday shopping and visit carlsgolfland.com, and you too can be a scratch gift giver. Carl's Golfland, land of golf plenty. Bloomfield Hills and Plymouth at St. John's. Visit carlsgolfland.com.
It's time for the Northern Michigan High School Sports Scoreboard Show on Up North Sports Radio with your host, Rich Calkins.
Scoreboard Show brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska. Start your stress-free car shopping experience when you search Sarah Kalkaska and Sarah Gaylord. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you this morning. And JC, we're getting going full bore here into the basketball season.
Should be the hockey season, Rich.
No question.
It is the hockey season.
It is. And with the daily snow amounts adding up like it is. But TC West took care of business last night. They took on a team that they matched up with in the district championship game last year. West won that game in a close contested battle, and Marquette had most everybody back. So it was, really going in that maybe Marquette may have the advantage this year with West losing quite a few players off the team last year. But West was able to neutralize the size of Marquette. They start, 6'6". It's basically a northern version of Cadillac.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so that, again, size-wise, very comparable. 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", and then they bring a 6'7" kid off the bench. So they got size everywhere, and one of them was really talented, the McPhee kid. I'm not sure what he went for. He had to have 30-plus. But
wow.
As a 6'6" kid could shoot.
Usually don't lose games like that.
No, exactly. The kid could shoot from the outside. He had great post moves.
Really?
So this kid's real skilled. It'll be interesting to see where he's going to go next year. But, it was a highly entertaining game, back and forth. And Coach Ballman really fired up, of course. And Lincoln Lockhart, his best game so far of his senior campaign with 24 points.
Shook off the shooting woes
he
from
did.
the other
Yep,
day. That's
exactly.
good.
Yep. And so let's listen to what Coach Ballman has to say after the big 70-65 win last night. Head coach Doug Ballman. And Doug, a big 70-65 win tonight, an exciting contest against a familiar foe of Marquette.
Yes, we knew we would get everything that we wanted out of Marquette, and they absolutely brought it to us. We responded well during their runs. We had some big runs of our own. Lincoln just played a phenomenal court game for us, made some big baskets, distributed the ball. Mason Zimmerman stepped up just huge for us, too. Down the stretch, Carter Grubb. I thought Brody Jones did a phenomenal job defensively coming in on their big guy that we just had a hard time stopping. But Brody kind of maintained that for us. So, just a super great effort for these kids. Really proud of them.
Yeah, no kidding. Coach, the way we ran into a bigger team, we do that quite frequently, and they just continued to battle all night long and scrapped. And, I know you got after them after that timeout, and they really responded after that.
Yeah, it's one of those that you're hoping to get after them. You don't realize how quiet the gym gets real quick. And so I think everybody probably in Radio Land as well kind of heard the motivation. But, they responded. To their credit, they responded, and they responded well. And we talked about kind of defining who we were. And I think we found a little bit of that today, which is great for this team.
Yeah, no question about it. You got big-time scoring and that's not always, but you got the defense, you got everything by Lincoln, by Mason and stuff, and every one of those points were needed tonight.
Yep, and again, just along the line, right? We had a few points here and there from everybody. Mason stepped up. I thought Blake Lefebvre played really well.
He did, yes.
I was real proud of our bench tonight. Those guys were really engaged in us, a lot of energy. We just kind of found ourselves in that game, which is what we needed, and we'll get some rest and turn around for a good Dow team tomorrow.
Right. The hustle, I thought Graham Hetherington, again, really hustled once again. He's kind of finding his role, what he's really good at.
He is, yep. He comes in well. I thought Brody Plumstead gave us some really good minutes as well. Just again, people that are defining the roles that they play and really are finding that niche that's making us successful.
Right. And of course, obviously, by bringing Lincoln out here, he's going to be your Jimmy John's player of the game?
He is.
Okay.
Yep, he's going to be the Jimmy Johns, and I figured you probably have a couple good candidates for the Fox Motors.
The motivated player, we're going to go with Mason Zimmerman. Not only, did he really come in through in the scoring department, but he diving on the floor late in the game, a big ball deflection off of Marquette really turned the tide there. And his effort all night long was huge.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations on the win. 2 in a row now, and let's get a third tomorrow.
That sounds good.
All right, sounds good. Let me talk to Lincoln Lockhart. Lincoln, 2-1 now in your senior campaign here with West, and really came through big time in the scoring department tonight.
For sure. I mean, we knew coming in that they're a big team. We knew coming from the district final last year that they had a lot of guys coming back. So we knew their guard play was going to be solid, and then especially their post play was going to be good. But the game plan coach gave us, and then the little talk we had after the first few minutes, that really fired us up, and we came out and we brought it to them then at the end of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. They ran a little full court pressure for a while there. Seemed like it affected you initially, but then you guys made some adjustments and were able to get some easy buckets out of it.
Yeah, we got the looks that we wanted. It kind of just it wasn't falling, and we didn't want to end up like the Grand Haven game when we go on that big of a drought. So I think coach called the perfect timeout, and he kind of just gave it to us straight. Like, we need to have some effort, and look what happened. We changed it.
It looks like you guys as a team, the last couple of games, you guys are finishing better around the bucket compared to where that Grand Haven game was.
For sure. Just building that chemistry every day in practice. We have only 4 returners, I think, from last year. So I would say those first 2 practices was definitely, a learning curve for some of the guys. But as you see, when we have the chemistry and put it together, we beat good teams like Marquette.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, congratulations on being the Jimmy John's player of the game. Hey, that winning's fun. Let's get another one tomorrow.
For sure. Let's get it.
All right, going up against Midland Dow. Lincoln Lockhart, the Jimmy John's player of the game, and the Fox Motors motivated player of the game is Mason Zimmerman. All right, thanks a lot,
Perfect.
Lincoln. All right, thanks, buddy.
See you guys tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, there you go, JC. Coach Ballman talking about the win, and then Lincoln Lockhart as well as our Jimmy John's player of the game.
Getting some Jimmy John's gift cards. I know the kids like that, and the hoodies as well from Fox Motors. I got a whole new batch of them.
Oh, good. That's what Coach Ballman was mentioning, that he needed some more, so perfect timing. I like it.
All right, yeah. Those the football team and the basketball team, those kids really enjoy getting that hoodie.
They do. They absolutely love it. And I love that Coach James Wagner, going to football back, how he would post a picture of him presenting the hoodie to the kid that won it that week. And it's just big smiles, and they do. You hear them talking about it all the time. It's just, it really means something to them. So that's really cool.
Yep. So they got a quick turnaround.
A 2-1 Midland Dow team coming into town at 1:30 today over at Titan Arena. And they're a team that plays tough defense.
How'd they do? They played Central yesterday, right?
And they did not. We thought that they played, Central played somebody else.
I thought that was...
I thought it too was a weekend deal for them to come north and all of that. But no, Marquette is staying over and playing Central today. But last night, that is not what took place. Let me see exactly who Dow played, and they played Bay City Central.
Okay.
And that was back on Tuesday.
Oh, so they
didn't even play last night.
Okay.
But so they're well rested. And so it looks like they rely on their defense to win them some ball games. So it should be. They've only given up 51, 41, and 37.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a rock fight.
Yes, it certainly does. So certainly familiar with those kind of games. Yeah,
we know that West likes to hang their hat on the defense. You were talking about when Coach mentioned how quiet the gym was, and then everybody in the gym knew that Coach was not very happy with the defensive effort of the team. Great basketball teams for the most part play good defense.
Right.
Because sometimes your shots aren't going to fall.
That's exactly right.
The old sentence is defense travels.
It sure does. Yeah, you're just out of rhythm or out of sorts sometimes, and like you said, that basket looks a little smaller.
Yeah,
exactly. And Marquette, they had a full court press early in that game that created a little headache for West initially. But once West figured it out, then they got a couple of easy layups. And then once that took place, then Marquette called it off. Because again, once you start giving up those easy layups on the other end,
no doubt,
you expend all that energy in trying to steal the ball in the backcourt or get a 10-second call or whatever, or just create havoc. When that's not happening, you need to bring them back. And it did look like it affected them later in the game as Marquette looked like they wore down just a little bit.
Well, that's how you negate the size, right?
That's exactly right, yes, because the first 5 minutes of the game, I said one of the keys to the game, I said we need to eliminate, we need to rebound, eliminate second and third chances. But that's exactly what took place in that first 5 minutes is Marquette got second chances, third chances. That size just absolutely it showed up big time on the court. But again, once West got their offense rolling, got into a rhythm that way, and then started boxing out and putting a body on a body, then no longer.
They were boxing out?
Yes, I know, exactly. I know, a foreign term that you don't always see in high school basketball now.
Are you talking about wrapping up boxes for Christmas?
Right.
Or
no, exactly.
People putting a body on another body?
Yes,
okay.
It's an old school, I know.
Damn, I should have watched the game.
The younger YouTube people, go out, check that out. It was a thing at one time.
Yes. That's the only reason why I ever played basketball.
But that physicality is important to what West does, for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. What time? That's a 1 o'clock game?
1:30.
Okay. You got to skedaddle.
I do,
Oh,
yeah.
I guess
don't have much time after
Rich
the
is going to
show.
have a hard out.
Yes, I
No
will.
time to stop at the West Side Diner.
I know. That's exactly right. And I'll mush
In
on
the basketball games, they don't have the press box like a Thurlby Field full of wings and.
No, they do not.
Yeah.
Exactly. So bring your own food.
I think you're going to have to talk to Coach Bauman about getting,
See what we can do.
Yeah,
about
pizza
that,
or
right.
something. Yeah.
Start turning up the pressure. Say, look what Coach.
Hey, come on,
Wagner
Coach.
does. Yeah,
Where's the
exactly.
love?
So, but anyway, so that'll be good. More basketball, and then 2 games scheduled next week as well.
Uh-huh.
So that's going to be a whole lot of fun as well. Tuesday, Thursday next week, we go back on the road. We go to Bay City Western, and then we at home against Cadillac next Thursday night. So
Okay.
That'll be, so a Thursday game against the Coach Benzenberg's team, that preseason favorites, of course, once again in the Big North.
In the Big North.
Yeah, so should be a great matchup. But,
That's those are probably going to be well, we'll see. It's hard. We were talking to James Cook yesterday, Rich, and it's so hard to know what a team's going to be like right now.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
You got
does.
half the kids that are coming back off of football, haven't worked in that much with the team. Their shots are way off.
And the movement skills are totally different
No doubt.
on a football field than
Other
on a
than
basketball
blocking
court.
out.
Yeah, other than right. That kind of physicality transfers over perfectly.
Yep, we love that part of it.
But the movement of your feet and the quickness involved and the different things like that on the court, things are so compressed and magnified. It takes a little adjustment, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Getting your basketball legs under you. So, but when we come back, we're going to get a hold of LJ Mead of the Grayling Vikings. They traveled up north and came up on the short end against a very good Charlevoix team. You're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, presented by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska.
Hi folks, Jim Jeffries for Michigan Trailers in Traverse City, Northern Michigan's volume leading utility trailer dealer. We have over 200 trailers in stock from America's top brands including SureTrack, Impact, Cargomax, and now offering Air Tow. All clearly marked at volume value pricing. Add to that full service, parts, plus accessories, and Michigan Trailers can solve all your hauling needs. See us today on US 31 South across from Menards, Traverse City, or visit us online at michigantrailers.com.
Have you stopped by Sarah Automotive in Gaylord or Kalkaska lately?
If not, you're missing out on the lowest lease payments of the year on many of your favorite Ford vehicles. And at Sarah Gaylord in Kalkaska, besides a great selection of new Fords, you'll find pre-owned inventory stocked with certified Fords and a wide array of trucks and SUVs in every price range. Visit Sarah Gaylord and Sarah Kalkaska for sales, service, parts, or just a friendly conversation. They'll be delighted to help you. They guarantee it.
Join the Traverse City Record Eagles 11th Annual TC Trim Down. It's a great way to get healthier, and you could win a share of $1,800 in valuable gift certificates. Male, female, and co-ed teams of 2 or 4 can register now through January 7th for just $10 a person, a portion of which goes back to local food pantries. Achieve a healthier you over the 10-week virtual competition and benefit for a lifetime. Register now through January 7th at tctrimdown.com.
Sports fans, check out UpNorthSportsRadio.com for all your Detroit sports action. Get full schedules for the Wings, Pistons, Tigers, Lions, and U of M football. Catch Friday Face-Off live and hit the links with JC on episodes of Finding Fairways. Our high school sports guru, Rich Calkins, hosts the High School Scoreboard Show. And don't miss Traverse City West Titan football and boys basketball action. Catch games live or see past episodes on the podcast page. Real sports fans, go to UpNorthSportsRadio.com.
Tune in to 101.1 WGRY, Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. for Destination NFL, brought to you in part by Cherry Capital Airport TVC, your Northern Michigan connection at tvcairport.com. Up North Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you this morning. And joining us now is the head coach of the Grayling Vikings, L.J. Mead. L.J., you've played a couple of games here this week, and you started off with a win, a closely contested one against Houghton Lake. And then last night you took the long ride up to Charlevoix, came up on the short end of a 51-38 score. But first, let's talk about that Houghton Lake game.
Yeah, we battled. It was actually a really fun game, back and forth. Houghton Lake's building their program, and Coach Hassan over there has really got the kids playing well. And there was a lot that we went back and looked at on film that we needed to clean up. And having a young squad this year, very little varsity experience, we knew that we were going to have some growing pains, and it was always going to be about our response. And down the end, we were down and went on a little run, got up a 6-point lead, and feeling a little bit more comfortable in the last couple minutes of the game. And literally under 1 minute, we have 3 unforced turnovers. The game's tied, and comes right down to the end. We had a 45-second defensive stand at the end of the game that we had multiple kids diving on a loose ball, and Houghton Lake had the arrow obsession and got the ball back and finished that up with a defensive rebound out in transition, and pass from Tristan Demo down the floor to Jackson Marshall, and he fed David Neal in the post to get a layup with 3 seconds left in the game to win it. So it was an exciting finish for our kids, and one of those wins that when you grind and maybe didn't play your best basketball, but execute at the end to get the win, it felt pretty good, and I was really proud of the boys for the grit they showed. Yeah, for sure, LJ, and what an accomplishment. Like you said, you talked about the young team. If for them to, act like a more experienced team down at closing time, that's going to absolutely pay huge dividends for you down the road. Yeah, I think, they start believing, when they have a little bit of success and whatnot. And, last night, to be honest with you, we played pretty solid up in Charlevoix. Held the lead the most of the game, and then, had it fall apart for us right at the end. But the first half is one of the best halves of basketball. Go back and look at the summer with this young group. It was definitely probably the best half of basketball we played through the summer season and then into this young season. Took a lead into halftime, and they executed really well on the defensive side. And I think we had Charlevoix a little flustered with their offense, and And then, the second half, Charlevoix knocks down some shots, and we had a couple mistakes and didn't knock down some of the shots that we executed to get the set play and get the look that we wanted, and just didn't make shots down the end. And so overall, it was a good first week of basketball for our kids.
Coaches, were those shots that should have been made, or were they hotly contested? What's the early makeup of your team as far as your offense is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea in terms of experience, we got Tristan Demo, who's a 3-year varsity player.
Good player.
I got one junior, good player. I got one junior that has varsity experience. Outside of that, the rest of the squad, 2 freshmen up, and the rest of the squad have not had anything other than like 5-quarter experience last year. So, in terms of offensive makeup, a couple of those were set plays to Tristan Demo that were open threes, and the ball just didn't go through.
Okay.
And a couple of those were plays that didn't get executed. Either we missed the screen or we made an errant pass, something like that. And so as time goes on with this group, they're going to start to learn to close out games a little bit better than we have the first 2. And but we're young. We're going to have some growing pains, and again, I said it earlier. It's always going to be about our response. And so we get another opportunity to get on the floor Tuesday over in Alcona.
Is David Neal your junior player, the other player you're mentioning there?
Austin Schwartz is our other junior player. Austin was up on varsity last year as a sophomore. He's played pretty hard the first 2 games. He said last night he had a fantastic first half. But you bring up David Neal, and David Neal is he's a kid who's been in the gym, has been a gym rat, has been working his tail off in basketball as his love and his main sport. So spent a lot of time with him, and I'm super proud of the kid, man. He's having success. To be honest, I didn't look at the point total for.
Says here in the paper that
night.
Yeah, it says in the paper here he had 16 last night.
Yeah, he knocked down some. So he's one that we ran a few sets to that he knocked down shots last night. And as he starts to play more physical, that's the one thing we keep talking to him about is that we need you to play more physical. He's a kid that can go inside and outside. And those executing those plays last night, he was knocked down a few threes for us. And but once he starts to play more physical, man, he's going to be a force. And super proud of him in the start of the season. He's really earned it. He's put in his time for sure.
LJ, going back to the when you talked about one of the players missed a screen or didn't get there quick enough or whatever, and once they see that on film, that the importance of the play is getting that screen and execution of those little things for the overall success of the team, then it starts to really hit them how important those parts are.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough week for us because we played Tuesday, and then we have impending weather coming in, right? And so Wednesday we couldn't practice. We were able to practice Thursday afternoon, and so we're kind of a day late on the film, and then a little bit short on what we want to do to get prepared for Charlevoix. But I will say this: the kids, and we put in a couple of defensive ideas to them that were fresh and new for them, and in 20 minutes of practice on the Thursday, and they executed it pretty stinking well in the first half. So I was really proud of that. But going back to the film, we were able to show that. Holton Lake put a boxing 1 on Tristan, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we see that this year. And so we're trying to run a couple sets, and we're screening an area, and we see it on film, and we're like, man, we're not executing, and then we see it on film, and I'm like, oh. Hey, we're young. They don't realize it, and they need to go to find that guy in the box, and that's where they got to set that screen. And so we had really good conversations in film. In fact, film lasted a little longer than what we had planned on. And again, we're growing, we're learning, and a good first week for us.
Yeah, LJ, you guys stay on the road all next week as you take on Alcona and Boyne City. So you head over to the east side of the state and then back to the west side. What do you know about Elkona?
You know, we've seen them before in the summer. And they're a team that plays hard. Typically, I've seen a lot of zone out of them, and so you know, on our end, we're going to need to be able to knock down shots, occupy bodies in the middle, and crash boards. So they'll give us a challenge for sure, and we're looking forward first time playing them in outside of a summer ball action. And then right back to league play with Boyne City. And, you know, Boyne City is always a tough gym to play in. They usually have a good student section. It's be Friday night. And they, you know, they have that depth behind their hoops in the gym. You know, it's a longer gym. And,
yes.
and we always seem to have a little bit of a challenge shooting and scoring in that gym. But I think that's going to be another hotly contested match. You know, I think in terms of our teams, there's some matchups both ways that work better for each team, and I feel like that's going to be another battle of a game like we saw on Friday night this week against Charlevoix.
Yeah, LJ, do you do anything differently when you play in those bigger gyms like a Boyne City where the depth perception is off a little bit? Do they try to get out for a little extra warm-up, maybe at halftime of a JV game or the girls' game or something like that?
Yeah, so we try to get them out, and there'll be a freshman and JV game that night, and so we're going to try to get them out in between both of those at halftime of both of those games. And, you know, other than that, that's pretty much all you can do. It's not like into the tournament time where you can get into that gym early, and they're not going to open that up for us. So it's just one of those things where, you know, you have to work through it, and you know, we got guys that can shoot and that we believe can knock down shots, and it's usually one of those things that once the lid does come off the basket, and then we have a little success, that you know, we all start feeling good, and next thing you know, it's not an issue anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, LJ, best of luck next week. Again, you're the Road Warriors initially to start the season, but it's all going to come back home eventually. And so thanks for joining us on the Scoreboard Show this morning.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys, and go Vikes.
Go Vikes.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Head coach of the Grayling Vikings, L.J. Mead, right there. And like you said, one senior who's their best player, and then the rest of, you know, pretty inexperienced team overall, JC. So they'll be going through some growth this year for sure.
Yeah, they're going to have to work on, as Coach noted, you know, setting picks, trying to get Demlo open. On the other end of that, you know, he's going to be at the top of everybody's scouting report.
Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always tough. I've talked about that to you before. I've seen it hundreds of times. Kid that has a pretty good junior year, because he's not the first scoring option. He has a little bit more freewheeling ability in the offense to get points and everything else, and then he becomes a marked man in the next year. And unfortunately, most times kids don't handle it well.
Yeah.
They just don't.
It's so true.
Yeah.
No, that's, you know, when there's a huge
Sign
difference.
your junior year.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I just, you know, if people are offering you after you had a good junior year, you should really consider it, because I don't care how much shots you get up, how much you work on your game, you cannot believe how much harder it is to play basketball when the best defender is playing against you and you're getting double teamed half or more of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Then all the frustration builds up, and then you start forcing things. You get out of your game.
Yep.
And it just creates a snowball
Yeah,
effect.
it really
of
can.
negativity.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, and the kids that do overcome that, you know, they move along to the next level, and they become stars.
They have success because they're able to adjust to that, being the man and drawing all that attention for sure.
Yep.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to get a hold of Sean Finnegan, the head coach of the Traverse City St. Francis Gladiators. You're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska.
Have you stopped by Sarah Automotive in Gaylord or Kalkaska lately? If not, you're missing out on the lowest lease payments of the year on many of your favorite Ford vehicles. And at Sarah Gaylord and Kalkaska, besides a great selection of new Fords, you'll find pre-owned inventory stocked with certified Fords and a wide array of trucks and SUVs in every price range. Visit Sarah Gaylord and Sarah Kalkaska for sales, service, parts, or just a friendly conversation. They'll be delighted to help you. They guarantee it.
Great Taste and gift cards starts at Trout Town and Moose and Stella's in Kalkaska. Buy a $50 gift card from either restaurant and get a free $10 gift card. And no one needs to know that you kept the $10 for yourself. Fresh, flaky fish from Trout Town Tavern and Eatery and baked French toast at Moose and Stella's Cafe. They could be your new favorite places to eat in Kalkaska. And now with gift cards that give you a little extra. They're your places for Up North flavor.
Tune in to Red Wings Hockey on Up North Sports Radio.
Brought to you in part by BlueCollarClothingCo.com. Proud to carry only the best of America's long-standing heritage brands.
Red Wings Hockey on 101.1 WGRY, Up North Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Deep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska. Rich Calkins and Jerry Coyne in studio with you. And joining us now is the head coach of the Traverse City St. Francis Gladiators, Sean Finnegan. And Sean, thanks for joining us this morning. You guys you haven't played a game yet, Coach. You don't play till next Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. We always expect our football team to have success, and I think they've been in the semis or finals 6 of my 8 years now. So we learned the hard way year one not to schedule games too early, and to be honest, I love being late. The boys get a little tired of hearing our voices maybe, but then come January, February, when we're getting ready for March, we never have a week off or 10-day span without a game like some schools do. So we're just playing games when it's time to get ready for March.
Yeah, Coach, looking at your schedule, you're absolutely right. You guys, you go to a lot of invites. You're hosting a Catholic tournament this year, and of course, you're doing your showcase again this year. So, yeah, there's no worries out there about the Gladiators. There'll be plenty of basketball coming up.
That's right. We're excited. We're first year independent. It came with a little bit of challenges, but it also I think it gave us an opportunity to be more flexible and do some things that we wanted to do in the past, but just didn't have enough room in the schedule to do.
Yeah, Coach, you guys obviously have been practicing a lot and doing some scrimmages. I was able to watch you in that scrimmage over at Traverse City West a few weeks ago. What do you like so far from what you're getting from the kids, and what are some things you still want to work on?
Well, yeah, if you saw us at West, which I remember seeing you there, right. That was our first day of anybody live, and almost our first day of even playing 5-on-5 live amongst ourselves. We spent a ton of time conditioning and skill developing early on because we knew we had a lot of time before we got into actual games. So, we were late a little bit on that, but to play West, Central, and Cadillac all in 4 days there was good for us. We're real excited this year about our leadership. We've got 6 seniors, 3 of them are post players. 2 guys on our team have been up since sophomores, so you can just tell a huge difference when you have senior leadership and just kind of that confidence that comes to the floor every day, and good work ethic. They understand what we expect and what we want. And then we've got 3 sophomores up, not including 2 that we have doing fifth quarter stuff with us this year, but 3 sophomore guards that are all going to contribute and bring a lot of basketball talent to the stage. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little growing pains there, but we're excited about what they bring and what their potential is, and also a couple juniors that are going to contribute too. We've got a very balanced team this year, and makes every day in practice very competitive. Yeah,
Coach, you should have seen Jerry Coyne's eyes light up when you said you had 3 post players, because that's music to his ears.
I cannot tell you how exciting it is to have 3 guys. 2 are 6'5", one's about 6'3", and One's a bull. The 6'5's just an absolute bull and a China shop football player, tough kid. Finally started finishing better this year around the rim, so I expect to see him score. Our other 6'5's super athletic, Isaiah Millward. You guys have seen him in the past.
Yes.
He's kind of coming into his own. Confidence is much better this year. He's been way more aggressive to score in practice, and then Luke Gorman is the other one who, and Isaac Kerr was the first one I mentioned, but Luke Gorman's one that can stretch the floor, knock down threes, and also has good post game. So it's been fun working with my bigs to have three guys that all know what we're doing, know our moves, know our routine through our workouts, and I don't have to stop every time and show them the footwork. They've been there, done that, and it's a fun thing to watch, and I can't wait to see them have successes here.
All right, well, let's hammer the boards, Coach.
Oh yeah. We've got some guys that like to rebound too.
Yeah, that's good because that's the one thing that just drives me crazy in Northern Michigan basketball. Rebounding does not seem to be.
You can get to where you get another team gets 4 or 5 shots.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and that just ends up being so demoralizing when the opponent, gets offensive rebound after offensive rebound. I mean, eventually they're going to score. You give them enough opportunities.
Yep.
Yeah, and we preach to them that, hey, you guys work this hard to get a stop or to force them into a bad shot or a missed shot, and you don't finish the possession with a rebound with that little extra effort. It's demoralizing. It takes the wind out of your sails, and now you got to hit the reset button and play defense for however long again, and then heaven forbid you give up a second, third, fourth opportunity. I mean, it's like you said, Rich, they're going to score eventually if you keep doing that. So it's important to finish those possessions with those rebounds.
Coach, generally speaking, you play mostly man, but I've seen you guys play zone depending on your opponent. Is that going to be the case this year?
Yeah, pretty much any of our zone. I mean, I'm a man-to-man kind of guy, and I'm a team defense kind of guy. I know with some of our opponents, I don't expect guys to be out on an island and go one-on-one defend anybody on the floor because we're going to come across guys that are just quicker than us individually. But we play a good gap defense, I think, and we try not to give up middle, try not to give up paint, and we look to trap out of that. But zone stuff, you'll never see me sit in a zone like a 2-3 or 3-2 in the half court, but we do have, 1-3-1, 1-2-2 diamond stuff that we'll pick up full court, three-quarter court, or maybe even in the half court, but with the idea of trapping and speeding teams up and just doing it more of a, throwing teams off rather than sitting in it all game.
No, you guys run a pretty effective trap, or at least in the past, so I know you got to have the right players to do it. But in the team that you had a couple years ago was excellent at that.
Yep. Yeah. I without showing all my cards, I'd like to think that we're going to be able to play a lot of defenses this year. We're going to be able to mix it up very well, and we're going to have the depth and the athletes to do a lot of things that we maybe haven't been able to do in recent past.
And Coach, I've seen a lot of basketball teams where it looks like they're in a zone, but that it's more of a matchup zone where obviously then it morphs into more of a man-to-man concept as well.
Yeah, there are times where our basic shell defense, our half-court man-to-man could look like a zone depending on if they're 5 out or 4 out, 1 in, because if our guys are doing it right, the backside should be all the way into the paint and a help to where it almost looks like they're doubling a post without the ball. And, some of that's by design because the less the other team knows what you're in and tries to call things to counter it, but they're wrong, that obviously helps you. So if they're doing it right, it looks kind of like that matchup zone, like you said. Yeah,
and it forces them to prepare, opponents to prepare for a whole lot more than they really probably want to, Coach.
Absolutely. I like to throw different things at people, and our group is always kind of dependent on, or how we play is dependent on the kids we have. I mean, our goals don't change, but certain years you can't run certain things. You just don't have the right athletes, and this year we're fortunate to. I think we have a lot of the right pieces. It's just it's going to take a little time to get everyone on the same page and get some games under our belt, so we figure out what we got to get better at. But yeah, we're going to try and throw a lot of things at people this year.
Coach, tell us about the showcase. Who you got coming up from downstate this year?
So the showcase is going to be great. I went back to 5 games. I think we talked about that last year about doing the 4, and if I'd go back to 5, I went back to 5, but this year we're starting at noon, so that last game of our game's still at 7 o'clock, so it's not that late, 10 p.m., 10:30 departure from the gym like
brutal.
It was a couple of years back. That was rough. That ruined my Sunday a little bit. Our coaches meeting went longer that night than it normally does, if you know what I mean. So the noon game is going to be Glen Lake and West. What was it? Geez, Pete's and drawing a blank. Walled Lake Western.
Okay.
There it is. Glen Lake, Walled Lake Western. Second game is going to be Canton and Cadillac.
Okay.
Third game will be Wayne Memorial, who's going to be one of the best teams in the state this year. Mark my words on that.
They were good last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those guards that have been starting since freshmen are now juniors.
Yeah.
So this year, next year, they're going to be a mess. But they're going to play TC West up here this year.
Yeah.
Cas Tech is coming back up, and I'm having them square off against an unlikely opponent in Marquette.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So
Rich saw them
2 ends of the
yesterday.
state coming together in Traverse City. That's kind of a unique thing. I don't know how often you'd ever see a Detroit school and Marquette play in a regular season game, much less postseason game.
Sure.
And then we're going to finish off with Hamtramck.
Okay.
No, that's a great lineup, Coach.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We're I think every one of those teams, I don't know if I'll ever match what happened that first year with so many Final Four and Finals appearance teams, but I think we're going to have another good group of talent up here, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, Coach, you got to get better food options, okay? It can't just be pizza. You can only eat.
We did have Jimmy John's last year.
Oh, that's
we had
right.
Jimmy John's,
okay.
Jerry.
All right.
So
I should know that.
I'm trying to work on maybe a Chick-fil-A option as well. I think that might be what sets it over the edge, or have a food truck in the yard. We're talking about a lot of different options.
Yeah, you can't sit in the gym 5 hours, 6 hours, and just eat pizza unless you're going to have beer available.
Right. Well, we are a private school, just take that one-day liquor liability policy, and we
There
could
you
probably
go.
maneuver something. I don't
You
know
know
if the NHSAA would like that, though.
Well, we'll keep it under our hat.
There you go.
Yeah, Coach, JC had mentioned I had a chance to call the West Marquette game last night, and that Marquette team is good. They have a 6'6" McPhee kid that can shoot from the outside. He's got good post moves down low. He's a real impressive player.
Yeah, I haven't watched them yet. We play them, actually. We're going to play them at home the night before the showcase.
Okay.
I promised to get them 2 games, so we're going to put ourselves through our own little gauntlet 2 nights in a row.
Sure.
But I've heard they've got 2 or 3 big kids that can play inside outside a little bit and athletic, and they should be pretty competitive this year.
Yeah, the guards that can hit the 3 ball, and that'll be a fun matchup for sure, Coach.
And then one last question for you, Coach. Who's your district this year?
We're at Glen Lake this year, which I don't know how it skipped over our gym again. It feels like we've been out of a district for 4 or 5 years now. But Glen Lake, ourselves, Benzie's over there. I'm pretty sure Grand Traverse Academy, and then, who was the last team? It was either Elk Rapids or Mansalona. To be honest, I haven't spent a ton of time looking that far ahead.
Okay. Yeah. We'll track it down later.
But yeah, it is in Glen Lake. I know that much.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Coach. Well, I know you took some time away from practice. You guys are hitting it this morning. We appreciate it, Sean, and best of luck getting your season started next week.
Appreciate it, Rich and Jerry. You guys have a great rest of your weekend.
All right, thank you.
Take care, Sean.
Too.
Thank you.
Sean Finnegan of Traverse City, St. Francis. Great to always get caught up with Sean.
Well, he's a good basketball coach. He's got a good program.
Yes.
And, part of the reason why that showcase has been successful is because he's got an excellent reputation.
He does, exactly. Yeah. And that's those connections are so important. And people wouldn't come up, the Cas Techs, the Hamtramcks, the Wayne Memorials would not come up here if it weren't for Sean Finnegan.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And Benzenberg, that, Cadillacs.
True,
and
that's
that.
True, yes.
There's, he's kind of created a cool little hub of that tournament, and like you said, Rich, Cas Tech, I don't know what they're going to be like this year. They got the one kid that I thought was going to transfer out of there, but I think he stuck around.
Okay.
I haven't taken a look at really what's going on in the city yet.
It's so early in the process yet that there's.
Yeah, and I haven't seen, like, you know, I subscribe to the Detroit News, and I have not seen it pop up, you know, their preseason preview.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going on with, you know, the coverage of high school sports in the Detroit News and the Free Press is way down.
Way down. Yeah. Yes, it is. And you know, and old friend Mick McCabe, if he wasn't covering things, it doesn't get covered.
Yeah, and they got another guy. I think Hawkins is doing it in the football side, but I haven't seen anything about high school basketball yet.
Yeah,
so.
And that used to be great to get to know, like for a Northern
we've
Michigan
only had,
kid,
you know,
to know what's going on in the metro areas on who to look for.
You know, usually, you know, there's probably 12, 14 kids in the league in the NBA right now that are from the Detroit area. It's always a hotbed.
Yes.
It's hard to follow them around. I know the kid that went to Louisville from Brother Rice a couple years ago is already transferred out of there.
Yeah. And like you said, and a lot of kids now, if they get a lot of notoriety, they end up going to an academy for their senior year. And back when you and I were playing and all that never happened.
No.
You stayed true to your school, and that's what you did. You know what I mean? If you were good enough, they found you.
Yeah. So I might have to subscribe to the Oakland Press.
Yeah, you might have to. Exactly. All right, we'll have more entertainment for you here in a few minutes. When we come back, you're listening to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram of Kalkaska.
Join the Traverse City Record Eagles 11th Annual TC Trim Down. It's a great way to get healthier, and you could win a share of $1,800 in valuable gift certificates. Male, female, and co-ed teams of 2 or 4 can register now through January 7th for just $10 a person, a portion of which goes back to local food pantries. Achieve a healthier you over the 10-week virtual competition and benefit for a lifetime. Register now through January 7th at tctrimdown.com.
Have you stopped by Sarah Automotive in Gaylord or Kalkaska lately? If not, you're missing out on the lowest lease payments of the year on many of your favorite Ford vehicles. And at Sarah Gaylord and Kalkaska, besides a great selection of new Fords, you'll find pre-owned inventory stocked with certified Fords and a wide array of trucks and SUVs in every price range. Visit Sarah Gaylord and Sarah Kalkaska for sales, service, parts, or just a friendly conversation. They'll be delighted to help you. They guarantee it.
Tune into Up North Sports Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. for the Fick & Sons High School Sportscape Show. A quick 15-minute look at high school sports throughout Northern Michigan. Grayling, Petoskey, Traverse City, Fick & Sons High School Sportscape Show. Up North Sports Radio.
Go ahead.
Welcome back to the Northern Michigan Scoreboard Show, brought to you by Sarah Ford of Gaylord and Sarah Ford Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Spit it out, Rich. Come on.
I know it. Yeah, towards
Jeep
the end
Dodge
of the
Ram.
show, it starts to get a little
Jeep Dodge
tough.
Ram. Yeah.
That's right. So we will be getting a hold of head coach Pat Schultz of the Gaylord St. Mary's Lady Snowbirds here in just a moment. They're off to a 2-0 start. But also we've got some scores from around Northern Michigan that took place.
Yeah, the St. Mary's girls, 61-5 over Forest Area. I don't, you know, how do you get 5?
5. That's
What's wrong with you? He where you should get him right now.
60. Okay, and both they started on the road. Both they played Ellsworth in their very first game earlier in the week, and they won that one 67-21. But also here, let me go over some other scores. Cadillac and Gaylord met up down in Cadillac last night in a clash of Big North schools, and Cadillac won 52-33. Cadillac will hang their hat on defense, of course, all season long. So they, again, when you hold a team to 33 points, you're doing something right, that's for sure. Speaking of that, in the Ski Valley Conference, East Jordan beat Central Lake 51-25. So Central Lake held to 25 points. Mansalona, the Ironmen, they get off to the winning side of things with a 76-30 win over Joburg. So there, Glen Lake, all over Buckley. I thought the potential with Buckley has some good players, all that. Well, Glen Lake took care of them early and often as they won 85-36. Dominating performance there. Big Rapids gets off to a quick start with the 68-50 win over Chippewa Hills. Benzie Central, they played Lapeer, much bigger school, last night, and Lapeer won that one 71-54. Sounds like a solid effort, though, by Benzie. Gladwin beat Midland Bullock Creek 68-49. How about Kalkaska? The Blazers won a 66-60 contest against Sheboygan. Good win there for Kalkaska. Lake Leelanau St. Mary's, they beat Gaylord St. Mary's in boys basketball 57-48. A 1-point ball game, Mile beating Mackinac City, again in boys action 40-39. McBain and Boyne City, we talked about that in the Fick and Son Sportscape show yesterday. McBain won that contest.
Yeah, it's blocking me from my
55-36.
Okay.
So good win for McBain because they are get off to a tough opponent against, again, Boyne City. So let's see here. Let's go over some of the girls' scores as well from last night. JC mentioned the one with Gaylord St. Mary's as they dominated in that one. Grand Haven over Ludington 55-22. Grand Traverse Academy over Interlochen 68-24. Harbor Light 34-33 win over Maplewood Baptist in a small school matchup.
There's a communication problem with Coach Schultz.
Okay.
The phone keeps saying it's busy. I just talked to him on the cell phone myself.
Right.
I can't hold it up to the mic. That's not going to work.
Yeah. Exactly. But I can talk a little bit about this St. Mary's team. They're a very young team last year, and they made it to the regional final. And I was at that game watching them compete against Frankfort. Frankfort was the bigger team physically, and that showed. But I tell you, real impressive performance by the Lady Snowbirds in that game. And I know they're coming into this year. I know Coach Schultz has some high expectations for them because, again, they were so young last year. And expectations are high this year for sure. And we know that Coach Schultz runs a good program.
Yeah,
works them hard.
I don't know what to say. I'm very disappointed because I'd really like to know about a 61-5 basketball game.
Yeah, and their first win was 67-21.
Yeah.
So that's a team not very big, but again they can shoot the ball, they can move the ball, they play tough defense. Really a team that we to keep your eye on in the future, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm texting.
That's okay. I think I ran the gamut of the scores.
There's no way you could have.
Well, all the ones of it, you guys, the newspaper with some details.
There you go.
Some of those ones. All right, I'm going to check that bad boy out here real quick. As JC mentioned, again, we covered the Traverse City West game. In that Glen Lake Buckley game, again, Glen Lake won 86-35. Glen Lake had a balanced scoring attack as Jacob Plumden had 24 points and 10 rebounds. Max Lamerson had 24 points and 12 rebounds. I tell you what, when you have two guys going double-doubles like that in a big game, you absolutely are doing something right. And they do have another Hazelton kid on that team. He scored 6 last night. Landon Kowaliak was the kid for Buckley, one of their big-time players. He had 18 points last night. Also, Frankfort, they won a 10-point ball game over Sutton's Bay, 62-52, as Carter Kirby had 28 points in that contest. 22 points for Sutton's Bay's Zachariah Raphael. Up next is Frankfort takes on Marion on Monday. In that Charlevoix Grayling game, Charlevoix was led by Jackson Cruz. He had 10 points and 16 rebounds, and Gaffney had 9 points and 5 assists.
There's a couple of other games today. I know you're heading to TC West for the Midland game. It looks like Central's playing Marquette.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Marquette stuck around. Of course, they make it a full weekend ordeal, as they should. That long trip. So they spent the night last night in Traverse City, and then takes on TC Central today.
Yeah, Benzie Central has got their Will Lynch game, a tournament this weekend. Benzie Central's TC Christian is playing Mackinac City. I don't know who Benzie's playing. Doesn't.
And then James Cook was at Elk Rapids for the ladies tournament there last night, and so that's some action over there from Elk Rapids. Trying to pull that up here and see what was going on with that.
It's our first basketball scoreboard game of the year, folks. So sorry, we're a little bit disjointed, especially when one of our coaches can't get through. I don't know what happened there, and he said he was going to try to call us, and that's not going through. So there's obviously a little communication problem. I tried. They told me.
Yeah, no question about it.
It didn't even ring through here.
Again, like JC had mentioned, we have a 1:30 tip-off with Traverse City West taking on Midland Dow, both 2-1 teams. It's going to be some fast action going on. Pre-game starts at about 1:10. So looking on upnorthsportsradio.com, check that out. We'll have video of it as well as audio. And I apologize in front if my mug gets on there every once in a while. Sorry about that. But should be a great action. Again, it's really cool now to see weekend basketball up north taking place quite a bit throughout the entire time. As Sean Finnegan talked about, he's got their team is playing in 3 or 4 different type of tournament type action plays with invites and showcases and things like that. So it really gives people a chance, if you're busy throughout the week, unable to go to a game like on a Tuesday night or a Friday night, on a Saturday, if you're a basketball junkie and you absolutely love that stuff, you can go check those games out. And so it is a lot of fun. I personally love Saturday basketball. It's a whole lot of fun.
Well, you get paid for it.
Well, that's true too. But I would, I was at the showcase last year, not getting paid for it as a fan.
No, well, I mean, I kind of made you.
Yeah, right. But I like to see good.
No,
when
I
Kaz Tech is coming north and Wayne Memorial and these big time Hamtramck teams, I'm like, hey, I want to see these kids.
I love that showcase.
I do. That's what I absolutely.
We here on Up North Sports Radio, I was kind of hoping that we would play the Michigan-Iowa game. Michigan is now ranked 23rd. I really like what Dusty May has done with this team already, and they've got a huge recruiting class coming in. Next year is going to be a very exciting year it could be an exciting year this year.
This year, yeah.
And Iowa's 7-1 as well. So that's going to be, I thought that was going to be on our radio station here, but because of our, the way we do the NFL, we are obligated to play the Texas game on the radio. So if you want to hear if you can't watch the Texas-Georgia SEC game, it'll be here. The pregame will be on at 3 o'clock. Kickoff is at 4. Wow. So, and then the Red Wings are on at 7:30, I believe. Okay. So that's the sports lineup for us here on Up North Sports Radio, and and Rich has got a skedaddle.
I do. Yep. Going to get out of Dodge, head over to Traverse City for some more exciting Titan basketball.
So we will be back here on Friday Face-Off at 10 o'clock on Friday, which leads into the Fick & Sons High School Sportscape Show, giving you a preview of the game's action. And as Rich said, not only do you have the TC West Titans today, they're back at it on Tuesday.
They are, yep, Tuesday and Thursday next week. Yeah, lots of high school basketball getting started in the season. Where Coach Finnegan talked about they're a little late coming to the party. West is full bore. We're going pedal to the metal right out of the gates here.
Well, it's going to be they've got a really good basketball team, and they got a lot of high expectations. As Rich said, go to Up North Sports Radio on Facebook, and you can hear the call by JJ and Rich and watch the action, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good coverage.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, the
camera work is.
we're using.
Yeah.
So with the tripods and the 2-camera angle, it's working out well.
It's working out really well.
Yeah.
So we're going to head to Infinity Sports Network. You'll catch the back end of that and enjoy your sports afternoon.
This has been the Northern Michigan High School Sports Scoreboard Show, presented by Sarah Ford of Kalkaska and Gaylord for stress-free car shopping. Join us next Saturday at 10 with host Rich Calkins. Nobody loves high school sports like Up North Sports Radio.
It's critical to have a solid plan in place to protect your finances and secure your future. Call 800-741-GOLD now to register for this 100% free summit. That's 800-741-GOLD.
Paid for by Advantage Gold. Performance may vary. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
The IRS, the world's most aggressive collection agency. They can seize your property, bank account, and garnish your wages. They cause sleepless nights for millions of Americans. Don't be one of them. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, get protected today. Call 800-312-9970. Coast One Tax Group, protecting your bank, home, and your sleep since 2008. With hundreds of 5-star reviews and an A+ on the Better Business Bureau. Call Coast One Tax Group, 800-312-9970. Stanley from New York owed $93,000. The IRS placed a levy on his bank account. Coast One released the levy and settled with the IRS for $2,000. Mark in Michigan owed $225,000. After Coast One stepped in, Mark walked away paying less than $1,500. Call Coast One now. A 10-minute call can save you up to 93% on your back taxes. Get your fresh start today. That's 800-312-9970.
This is Countdown 2 on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Another hour to go here. Alex Gold, John Martin with you on BetQL and the Infinity Sports Network. Our best bet still to come at the end of the show. We're also about 20 minutes or so away from diving right back into the NFL slate. We'll rapid fire through a couple of the marquee matchups in the NFL, some of our favorite bets, including one bet on Sunday Night Football that I think on the player prop side could be really intriguing for those of you watching and listening as well. But let's get in to Conference Championship Saturday. And to do that, we welcome in Will Mindenthal, bets manager for Really Good Picks. He joins us here on the Infinity Sports Network. It's good to have you back on the show. And obviously, last night got us started. Now, there weren't a lot of competitive games, but we got started last night, and now we know Boise State is going to be in the college football playoff. It was a pretty cool scene there out in Boise, Idaho. But this morning, things get started, or at noon at least for those on the East Coast, get started in Arlington with the Big 12 title game. And I've been keeping an eye on this. I'm sure you've been locked in this morning. We've had some line movement on Arizona State and Iowa State. Arizona State, now a dog, slight dog instead of a favorite as they were for much of the week. What's the latest there? BetMGM has the Cyclones now as a 1-point favorite.
I love Arizona State still, and I'll just roll with that line movement. The matchup really bodes well for them in this spot. I know that they lost Tyson last week, and that's they're gonna have to figure out how they move the ball through the air, but I don't think they're gonna have to all that much. Scatteraboo is just in a phenomenal spot to just dominate Iowa State today. They have the number 112 rush defense in the country this year, and he just torches poor run defenses. He averages close to 190 rushing yards a game against teams that are 100th or worse in the country in rush defense this year. And I just think they're just going to be able to hand the ball off to him 30 times and run over them. So I'll gladly take that team, in a spot where they've just excelled all year. They're 10-2 against the spread this season, and I'll just go right back to them.
Any thought Will, for Sam Levitt, who's had just an unbelievable year for them and has, played way over his head. This is a pretty big spot for a freshman quarterback. Any hesitation there when you're talking about the Arizona State side, asking, a freshman quarterback to win a game like this?
See, that's where if they were relying on him to be more than he is, I would, but I just don't think they have to. And he's going to be able to play his role. And, State, they're going to have to either load up the box significantly to just sell out and stop the run game. And if they do that, then he's going to have very advantageous matchups on the outside. And if they don't do that, they're just going to get run over by Scatteroo. So I think the situation for Levitt is actually, it should be relatively positive. He should have pretty advantageous matchups in the pass game if they are going to sell out and stop the run. If they're not, he won't have to do too much. So I'm not all that concerned in this spot, and I just think Arizona State is in a phenomenal spot to keep rolling.
The total will caught my attention. I think it was 49.5 at some point. It looks like 50.5 right now. You mentioned it. We know what Arizona State should have success doing on the ground. Iowa State, though, I do feel like they're going to have success through the air against this Arizona State secondary. Are we in for a little bit of a shootout here? Is the over in play for you?
I posted Arizona State as a bet for us. I don't really candidly love either side of the total. Arizona State's defense has been sneaky good this year at times. And so I just don't know what we're going to get from them. Obviously, Iowa State, they've got Noel, they've got Higgins on the outside, and those are their two main playmakers. I could see a scenario where kind of both sides come into play there. And with Arizona State being pretty run heavy, they run the ball like over 60% of the time. That just keeps the clock moving too. So I just don't really love taking a side on the total there, just because game script and the way Arizona State plays would lead to the under. But at the same time, I could easily see both teams kind of getting it going offensively, and a total of 50.5 is significant. So Vegas obviously thinks that there is going to be some points scored here. So it just kind of feels like something I don't want to touch.
Understandable. We'll skip over Villanova and Incarnate Word, and we'll go right to Atlanta. We'll go to Mercedes-Benz, where it's Texas taking on Georgia for the SEC championship game. This is out to 3 minus 105 at BetMGM. You could get different numbers at different shops, but we'll take the BetMGM number here. I don't know, Will. I was on Texas last week against Texas A&M. Felt very fortunate, even though I think I deserved the cover with Texas. Felt very fortunate to get it. Quinn Ewers' red zone performance was very disturbing for me. And then you have a Georgia team that has also been extremely underwhelming and probably should have lost to Georgia Tech. So what do you do with two obviously very good but recently underperforming SEC teams here?
You don't take a side. What I posted for our team, for our subscribers today, was I actually posted a prop bet for this game. I think that's the best angle to attack this. I like you said, both teams have just been very underwhelming at times this year. We were on the side of Texas A&M last week. I do think Texas has gotten very lucky. They played a very advantageous schedule up to this point in the season, and then when they have played like a good team like Georgia last time they played, they got their doors blown off. And so you just don't really know what you're going to get on a week in and week out basis from these two teams. So the bet I really like for this game is taking Beck's under on his passing yard prop. That's coming in at 244.5 right now, and he has really struggled against the top pass defenses he has played. Even the first time that these two teams played, they won. They killed them. He threw the ball 41 times, and he still only accumulated about, I think it was 175 passing yards, somewhere in that range. And so if he's throwing the ball 41 times and only getting that many yards, I just don't think they have the playmakers on the outside to really be able to challenge this Texas secondary. And so, that kind of covers you in both ways. That's why I like taking that. It's like if Georgia does come out and kick them off field again, then they're probably going to be running the ball a little bit more, and you have some, hope that he's not going to go out and just throw the ball over and over again down the field, and the game script will be positive. But on the other side, if they don't, and Texas looks a lot more confident, or they continue doing what they were doing in the past game last time, he also very easily could go under. So that's why I like kind of taking that prop. It kind of protects you on both sides of that game.
We're talking to Will Menthal. He is the bets manager over at Really Good Picks. He joins us here on Countdown 2. I know we'll get to the Sun Belt Championship game because you got to play for that in a second, but I want to stick with kind of the power conferences for a second. The Big Ten title game, Penn State, 3.5-point dogs now. It's gone down a little bit against number 1 Oregon. Total for this one, 50.5. As the week has gone on, I feel like more and more people are talking themselves into Penn State, or are you one of those people that are on the Nittany Lions?
So I will preface this by saying I grew up in the Seattle area. I'm a huge University of Washington football fan. So I have no love lost for the Ducks. That being said, I do think Penn State has a pretty good chance in this game. Oregon is really good at running the football. But Penn State's defense is really good at stopping the run. They rank 15th in rushing success rate. So I just think that they are really kind of a good matchup to take on the Ducks. And the Oregon defense has been really, really against the run as well. This year, Purdue ran all over them, and Purdue's offense is horrific. And you look at like some of these advanced metrics that are out there, like line yards, stuff rate, those kinds of stats, and the Ducks defense has been really underwhelming when you look at their defensive line. And so I just think on both sides of the ball in the trenches, this is a spot where Penn State actually lines up pretty well. And so when I see those kinds of things and I have the chance to take an underdog where I think that the metric, some of these advanced stats really do lean in favor of one side, I'll gladly hop on board there. So Penn State definitely is a live dog that could be barking at the end of the night.
Yeah, and then finally, it's probably it's got the biggest implications, right, for the playoff. We would think we don't necessarily know that, but we would think Clemson and SMU. This number has been back and forth. I think it got down to as low as SMU -1.5. It's now back out to SMU -2.5. Is this a spot where you think SMU rolls against a Clemson team that really didn't deserve to be here? Can Dabo pull it off? What do you think?
So before I get to that, I just want to kind of have one last point on the last game we just talked about, the Big Ten title game. The other interesting thing about that game is that Oregon actually might be better served losing that game, which is interesting. Like if you look at their draw for the playoff, it actually looks a lot easier because they would be slotted in to face Boise State in the first round if they were to lose, most likely. And so I don't want to say that they don't care, but like at the same time, I do think maybe in the back of their head, like Penn State's going to want it a little bit more. Some of those intangible factors could come into play there as well.
Absolutely.
So definitely an interesting angle to think about from that game. Moving on to the SMU game, it's an interesting spot. SMU, obviously, the strength of schedule is horrible this year. They haven't really played anybody. So it's a little hard to gauge exactly the kind of performance we're going to see from them. Clemson should not be here. They had no business being in this game. And I really think that if you're going to take a side in this game, it probably has to be SMU. Clemson has just looked awful every time they've played a ranked team this season. And I didn't post a side for us. I did end up posting the under in this game. The line comes in around 55.5, I think right now is the total. That number, it seems a little bit high to me. Both these teams do play at a high tempo, but also both do want to run the football a lot. You're going to see a steady dose of Maffa and Smith on both sides. You've got two quarterbacks that also are willing and capable runners as well. So that will keep the clock moving. And the other thing is that when Clemson has played a ranked team this year, they've averaged 12.7 points per game. So they clearly just can't get the offense going in big spots. And a 55.5 point total is hefty. So, yeah, the cherry on top is, for me in this spot, you really have to think about how the second half is going to go. Both these teams typically want to go up and down the field pretty quickly, but in a game like this with a lot of implications, a lot of playoff implications, my gut is telling me that if one of these teams does get a little bit, get its nose in front in the second half, they're going to slow it down more than they might typically in a regular season and game environment. They're going to want to try to drain the clock, get close potential playoff appearance. And so I think when and if that does happen, that total is going to take a hit as a result. So if I was to take a side, it would be SMU. I do like the under as well.
All right, last one for you. It's not impacting the college football playoff by any means, but a championship on the line in the Sun Belt. Marshall, 5.5-point dogs, plus 180 on the money line. They're taking on Louisiana. Total for the game, 58.5. But we were talking before we hopped on during the break. You really like a play here involving the dog?
I do. Marshall is a really good bet today. I think that I mean, getting plus 180 on them is phenomenal. Let's look at what their resume looks like this year. They're 10-2 against the spread to start, so they're playing very competitive games. They were a meltdown against Georgia Southern away from having ran through the league undefeated. And then what else? They run the ball really well. They average north of 200 rushing yards a game. And the big thing for me in this spot is that Louisiana, their offense has a lot of question marks in my head. Chandler Fields has looked good since taking over. Their original starting quarterback, Woolridge, went down with an injury, and that brought Fields to the forefront. The issue, though, is that his opponents he's played have been complete nobodies. Marshall is really, really good defensively. They have 12 interceptions on the season. Their pass defense is a lot better than anything Fields has seen up to this point. And the other issue that really concerns me is that they stall out in the red zone a ton. They've only scored touchdowns on 63% of their red zone drives. And the combination of all those factors, it really doesn't bode well for like a big game environment. You got a quarterback that hasn't really played staunch, opponent up to this point in the season, and he's going to have to go out there in a conference championship game and prove it for the very first time. And they also just will kick field goals frequently, and that doesn't usually end up well in a big time game. So underdog definitely live in this spot. Marshall is a very, very, very strong bet in my head.
Will Benthal from Really Good Picks. He's the bet manager over there. Great insight. You got me now all of a sudden paying attention to the Sun Belt title game, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Will. Good to have you on the show, man.
Yep.
All right, when we come back here on Countdown 2, John and I will continue going through some of the betting angles for the weekend, but let's turn our attention back to the NFL. We'll run through some of the marquee matchups, major implications as well in the number one seed market. That's coming up next here on Countdown 2.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops.